As Genshin Impact's 1.4 update comes to a close, we get to experience Part 4 of the Chapter 1 Archon quest. The Archon quests are the main plot, and I actually wasn't expecting any more main plot development until Inazuma's release or Chasm at the earliest. But miHoYo surprised me with this chapter for a lot of reasons. In case you forgot, I'm gonna go over what happened in the new Archon quest. Obviously, spoilers ahead. The quest starts with us going to the Liyue Harbor Adventurers Guild, where we speak to Ganyu and Lan about a group of strong but elusive treasure hoarders. They send us to Ruins Nuth of Jueyun Karst, and we enter a domain. The domain is unlike any other we've seen in or out of an Archon quest. It's laid out differently than we're used to, and it has mechanics that aren't present in others. If you played Peculiar Wonderland during the Windbloom Festival, you remember the bubble minigame. This domain has that too, although the bubbles are purple this time. Inside the domain, we were supposed to be looking for the treasure hoarders, but instead we found the still corpse of one bowing before an inverted and corrupted statue of the Seven, this one from Mondstadt. We leave the domain, fearful of the scene we've come across. Outside of the domain, we reunite with Dainsleif. Dainsleif, for those of you who forgot, is a mysterious character we met during a 1.3 world quest. He seemed to be looking for something and working against the Abyss Order. In the new Archon quest, his motives haven't changed, although they're a bit more paradoxical than last we saw him. We do similar things we did during the first quest when we met him, hunting down and killing monsters of the Abyss Order. We find a group of them near a ruin guard, which we don't see that often. He explains that ruin guards were once weapons from a godless nation called Khanri'ah. Dainsleif says that they're not actually called ruin guards, but field tillers. They weren't farming equipment though, field tiller was just a code name. Khanri'ah has been destroyed for 500 years, and since its fall, the field tillers have spread out all across Teyvat. Dainsleif wants to find the first ever field tiller and take its eye. I don't remember exactly what he wanted the eye for, but we know that the eyes of ruin guards are their true weapons and they're incredibly powerful. Back in Mondstadt, we take Dainsleif to Stormterror's lair. There's a decommissioned ruin guard at the top of the tower where you go to do the Stormterror boss fight, and it turns out that that is the first ever field tiller that Dainsleif was looking for. Dainsleif takes the eye for himself, unlike most characters. Most other characters give us important items to quests like Albedo with Festering Desire or Child with the Sigil of Permission. They always let us keep them even after the quest is done. The fact that Dainsleif took the eye without even considering giving it to us is red flag number 1. Red flag number 2 shows up when we talk about Khanri'ah in greater detail with Dainsleif. In Wolvendom, Dainsleif tells us why Khanri'ah was destroyed 500 years ago. He says that the gods couldn't stand the idea of a godless nation, so they eradicated it. In response to this, you have a parenthetical dialogue option that mentions Venti and Zhongli. However, I don't think Dainsleif is talking about them here. I'll explain that part when I finish the recap. Anyway, after that insane revelation is dropped on us, Dainsleif continues to speak against the gods, saying that we can't trust them and that there will always be a hidden agenda with them. Dainsleif clearly feels that way about them because they supposedly destroyed Khanri'ah, so you would think that his loyalty lies within Khanri'ah and its people. But in the exact same conversation, he says that he's fighting against the remnants of Khanri'ah and the people of the Abyss Order. So which is it? Does he want to avenge Khanri'ah, or does he want to destroy it again? The writers make a very clear point of showing off Dainsleif's contradictory claims multiple times during this quest, and this is just one example of that. Later, we return to the domain from earlier with Dainsleif, this time entering from where we exited. In the domain, something happens that we thought we would have to wait years in-game to see. You find your sibling. Here you learn that your sibling has been working for and actually leading the Abyss Order. You ask them to come with you and leave the world of Teyvat altogether, but they don't agree. They say that they still have things to do in Teyvat and that one day you'll find each other again. Your sibling teleports away using what I can only describe as abyssal power, and you and Dainsleif chase after them. Dainsleif, after being berated by your sibling for working against the Abyss Order, jumps through the portal fully, taking the field tiller's eye with him. We aren't able to get through, leaving us alone in the domain again. Now, I skipped over a lot of the stuff in this Archon quest because honestly it could be its own separate video, but right now I just want to talk about Dainsleif, his actions in this quest, and where Genshin Impact is going to go from here in regards to him. Dainsleif is a suspicious character, but he seems to want to work cooperatively with us. He agrees to join you if you pay him 500 more and answer 3 questions. There are a lot of ways to analyze that particular interaction, but the way I see it is that he wants plausible deniability in the future. Plausible deniability is when a person is able to deny something without there being damning evidence contradicting them. I think that at some point in the future, be it in the next Archon quest or 1 in 10 years from now, Dainsleif is going to try to convince us to do what he wants by saying that we actively sought him out and wanted to work with him. And that could be true depending on how you want to look at the world quest when you first met him. We were told by Catherine that Dainsleif was a new and mysterious stranger in Mondstadt and that we should talk to him, but why would Catherine say that? She doesn't say that about anyone else. My guess is that Dainsleif asked Catherine about us and wanted her to send us to him, but upon meeting him he put a price on his companionship so it would look like you were the one who wanted to be with him, not the other way around. The price is so low that nearly anyone could pay it, and he set it that low because he knew we wouldn't be able to resist it. Now with all that into consideration, let's get into what he did during the new Archon quest. Dainsleif blamed the gods for the destruction of Khanri'ah because they were offended that a godless nation existed. In response to that, we think about Venti and Zhongli because they're the only gods we know on a personal level. But gods and Archons aren't the same thing, they're not mutually exclusive. It's kind of like how a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle isn't always a square. An Archon is a god, but not all gods are Archons. Liyue's Archon quest proved that to us by telling us about Guizhong and Osile. Zhongli's story quest revolves around the death of a god who wasn't an Archon named Tavria. We know not every god is an Archon, so it seems irresponsible to single out 7 people out of however many gods Teyvat actually has. According to Dainsleif, even Andrias, the Wolf of the North, is a god. If there are that many gods in Teyvat, why are we just blaming the Archons? Khanri'ah's destruction and the lore surrounding it isn't fully available to us yet, but I want to present a theory on what happened anyway. This could change when new information is released, but right now this is what I think happened in Khanri'ah. Celestia, the heaven/god realm of Teyvat, has 3 gods who are above all others, including the Archons. Because those gods are in charge of everything, they have power over other gods too. I think the highest gods of Celestia forced the Archons to destroy Khanri'ah. The Dendro Archon was said to have died 500 years ago, which is a similar time frame we have for the fall of Khanri'ah. Venti woke up around the same time too, sending Dvalin to go deal with something really important. The highest gods of Celestia likely woke up Venti to send him to take part in the destruction of Khanri'ah, and the Dendro Archon probably died in battle. We don't really know what the other 5 Archons were doing around that time, but if we can assume that Venti and the Dendro Archon were there, we can also assume that they were there as well. Finding proof that the Archons wouldn't destroy Khanri'ah out of spite isn't that hard, just look at their motives throughout their personal histories. In the webcomic, Venti is shown to be extremely dedicated to preserving the freedom of his people, who, keep in mind, are humans. A lot of those humans don't even like the Animo Archon, but Venti wants to protect them anyway. Similarly, Zhongli fought so hard to be the Geo Archon because he wanted to protect his people, who are mostly human. In his voice line about Keqing, Zhongli says he admires the conviction of people like her. Keqing is known for her skepticism and general disbelief in the gods. I don't think Venti and Zhongli would kill an entire nation because it was godless. I don't think either of them are that arrogant. I can't say that much for the other Archons, but to me, it looks like Venti, Zhongli, and the deceased Dendro Archon were probably forced to fight against Khanri'ah. The highest gods of Celestia could have threatened their respective nations or their roles as Archons, and we already know how much all of them value that. The survivors of Khanri'ah would naturally be angry with the Archons specifically because they were the ones who destroyed Khanri'ah, against their will or not. That's why Kaya said, "I triumph over you" to Venti during the Windbloom Festival. Kaya was sent to Mondstadt as a spy by Khanri'ah's surviving Abyss Order, likely because they wanted him to find a way to kill or sabotage Venti. Albedo, another character from Khanri'ah, says that one day he might, quote, lose control and destroy Mondstadt. Whether or not Albedo is a spy is unclear, but his possibly fatal goals for Mondstadt are just as apparent as Kaya's. So where does Dainsleif factor into all of this? At the end of the new Archon quest, it's revealed that Dainsleif is from Khanri'ah and was cursed with immortality when he failed to protect the people of the fallen nation. My final theory revolves around that. Remember that this theory could change when new content comes, but for now, I think this is a good explanation. I believe Dainsleif is still working with the Abyss Order. I know that doesn't sound like it makes a lot of sense, but trust me, it will make sense when I'm finished. Dainsleif says he's working against the Abyss Order, and the Abyss Order publicly acknowledges that. But what happens when we're not around? We know how sneaky Kaya is with his end goal of destroying Mondstadt from the inside out, so why wouldn't Dainsleif be like that too? For all we know, Dainsleif is lying to us about working with the Abyss Order. It certainly sounds like he's confused about what he wants. He acts like he misses Khanri'ah and wants to avenge it, but if that was really true, why oppose them? It's just like how Kaya lies about his loyalty to Mondstadt as a high-ranking member of the Knights of Favonius. Dainsleif could be lying to us about wanting to take down the Abyss Order when in reality, he wants to stop us. Dainsleif says he doesn't trust or like the Archons because they were responsible for the destruction of his home. That's completely fair, but because he's originally from Khanri'ah, he doesn't know that the Archons might not have wanted to take part in that. Someone from Khanri'ah would have no way of knowing the intimate details of what happened between the Archons and the higher gods of Celestia, but we can assume that force and threats were involved. That's why Dainsleif acts like the Archons are fully to blame. That's why he warns us about the gods as a whole. I can't get over how he just abandoned us in the domain and took the first field tiller's eye with him. Like I said before, characters usually let us keep important quest items, even in Archon quests. That's because those characters trust us. Those characters are on our side. If Dainsleif wanted to stop the Abyss Order, he wouldn't chase after them with a valuable weapon of their own design. When Dainsleif went through that portal after your sibling, how are we supposed to know what he did with the eye? He could have given it to them, returning it to its rightful owner. And once the Abyss Order gets the eye back, how do we know that they aren't going to use it against us? Dainsleif is, always has been, and will continue to be a character that confuses Genshin Impact's fanbase. Just because I think that he's working with the Abyss Order and lying to us now doesn't mean that that can't change. Genshin Impact's main plot is still in its infancy, so new details could show up proving or disproving everything I just said. But personally, I'm happy with the explanation I've come up with, and hopefully you like it too, but if you don't, that's totally fine. Honestly, I think it's way too early to be jumping to conclusions here. I just can't help myself from doing it. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you guys next time.